Hi guys, if people who campaigned to leave back in 2016 can't come up with a tangible benefit of Brexit today, how the heck are people who voted Remain expected to? Well, most who did cast their ballot against leaving the EU 7 years ago understand today better than anyone what a mess Brexit has become. With one small caveat: Tory MPs who want to further their careers. Here is Helen Whately, the Health Minister, who appeared on the Nick Ferrari show on Monday trying her best to come up with a Brexit benefit even though she knew that it was wrong to leave. Have a listen to this car crash.
And lastly, another anniversary this week, and while I must remind the listeners you were a Remainer, subsequently you have said you think Brexit can be a success. 3 years ago, later this week, the UK actually left the EU. What's been the biggest achievement in that time?
So, as you say, I did vote Remain in the referendum, but both completely accepted the result of the referendum and actually also see the opportunities for the country as a result of Brexit and the different path that we can take.
In the first 3 years? What opportunities?
I mean, actually, one thing that you can point to is our vaccination programme during the pandemic, where...
Which brings me once again to this video.
We have been able to authorise the supply of this vaccine using provisions under European law which exist until the 1st of January. So our speed or our progress has been totally dependent on the availability of data in our rolling review and the rigorous assessment and independent advice we have received. So I hope that clarifies the point about the European relationship.
And that is the head of the regulatory body in the United Kingdom when it comes to medicines back in 2020. But let's get back to the Tory MP.
We were able to go further and faster and led Europe, if not the world, on our pace of vaccinating people, which protected many thousands, not millions of people from COVID. So that's an example of the sort of thing that we can do differently, go faster and better as a country independent of the European Union.
Had there not been a virus that claimed scores of thousands of lives, there wouldn't have been much else to hang the hat on, would there, for leaving? Noting you again you were a Remainer.
You asked me for an example, and that was an example. I think the other thing which we're doing is really important is looking at what regulations that we can remove and what freedoms that we can give businesses, for instance, and science and technology to innovate so that we can be a more innovative country, which is going to be so important for our future economic growth.
Okay, how does removing worker protections help businesses innovate? Well, maybe it'll help increase profit for some companies because they won't have to protect their workers. They'll be able to just replace them with agency staff. But how are these tangible benefits for people? There are no benefits, it seems. So she talked about the vaccine, which was wrong, and she's talking about removing regulations, which are not there to protect are there to protect the public, but will be removed in order not to protect the public, not to protect workers, not to protect the environment. And on one of them, it seems that the European Union is going to be pushing back on. So in a report, in an article, it says that trade unions in Europe are putting pressure on the European Parliament when it comes to negotiating with the UK. As we know, Rishi Sunak and his government want to strip away protections for workers. They want to run this bill through Parliament where if, for example, NHS workers go on strike, they could lose their job. They could be fined if they don't provide a minimum level of service. Trade unions in Europe are putting pressure on the European Parliament to push back against the Tory government when it comes to this. So you have trade unions in Europe looking out for workers in Britain, because the government in Britain are not looking out for workers. But what tangible benefits of Brexit are there here for people who voted for Brexit? As we know, there are benefits for disaster capitalists. There are some benefits, it seems, for racists, maybe not actual benefits. But for ordinary people, what are the benefits? Nothing. There never was any. There never will be any. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.